I predicted that the Houston Texans would go 1-16 last year. I called them a terrible football team. I said they were the worst team in the NFL. They surprised me. The reality is the Houston Texans went 4-13. They actually were not only not last in their division, they did better than the Jaguars, which I did not see coming at all. I thought their only win would be week 1 against the Jaguars. They could catch them early before Trevor Lawrence was ready. Well, they swept the Jaguars. They beat the Jaguars not only week 1, but also week 15. They beat then the Titans week 11, and they beat the Chargers week 16, which really helped keep the Chargers out of the playoffs. So not a good year for Houston at all, but I actually thought they did better than I expected they would. So kind of they overachieved a little bit. And I felt really bad for their head coach going into last year, David Culley. He was hired, I thought, because no one else really wanted to be the Houston Texans head coach. And again, in my opinion, 4-13 with that roster, I thought he overachieved. Now, the Texans rewarded him by firing him after the year. They did not see things the way I did at all. And the move they made was they elevated defensive coordinator Lovie Smith to be head coach. That's a weird move. I don't know, but the key and the one really good thing about hiring Lovie Smith and maintaining him was it kept the coaching staff intact, which keeps one key person there. Pep Hamilton, the quarterback coach, who is now the offensive coordinator, he worked with Andrew Luck, Justin Herbert. He was once an XFL head coach. He's been all kinds of good for young quarterbacks across the football world. And Pep Hamilton worked with a rookie quarterback last year, Davis Mills, in Houston. And Davis Mills, a third-round pick out of Stanford, he was far and away the most positive thing about the Houston Texans season. The Deshaun Watson stuff is still up in the air. We're still waiting to figure out what's going to happen with him. Tyrod Taylor didn't play very much, got hurt. Like, Davis Mills, hey, maybe Houston found a franchise quarterback in the third round, which is exciting and very, very cool. He played in 13 games. He threw for 2,664 yards, 16 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, a 66.8% completion percentage. That's very good for a rookie quarterback playing in 13 games. And also with the context that Houston was a terrible, terrible team running the football. They were dead last. They were the worst rushing team in the NFL last year. Their leading rusher was Rex Burkhead, who's 31 years old, was like a undrafted player out of Nebraska. Like, was he undrafted? I don't know. He played for the Patriots for years. I would imagine he was undrafted. Here's how the great Rex Burkhead, the leading rusher for the Houston Texans last year, he had 427 yards rushing. Like, ooh, not great. 427 yards on 122 carries. It shows. Like, not only did they had a revolving door at running back between David Johnson, Rex Burkhead, Philip Lindsay. There's one other guy. He went to Alabama. Mark Ingram. Not a great rushing year for the Houston Texans. Brandon Cooks had a good year receiving. He was a leading receiver by over 500 yards. He had 90 catches for 1,037 yards and 6 touchdown catches. Honestly, there's a lot of work left to be done in Houston. They had 9 starting/contributing players who were veterans on one-year contracts last year. It's a lot of people on your starting roster to be not guaranteed to be a long-term player there. There's still not a lot of talent in Houston. The really only positives are that they got Pep Hamilton and Davis Mills. They're going to stay there next year. They can build on what they did last year together. I am hoping that Pep Hamilton can do really well and eventually become an NFL head coach someday, maybe even in Houston. And the Texans have the number 3 overall pick. So it's not all bad, but there's not a lot of hope moving forward. They're still rebuilding. Like, going into last year, Houston was rebuilding and a mess, and they're still rebuilding and still a mess, just a slightly better mess than they were last year. Does that make sense? We found out Davis Mills can play. Pep Hamilton is still there. We'll see who they draft number 3 overall. Hopefully an impact player. But I don't feel great about the Houston Texans. Let me know if you're a Houston Texans fan, how you feel. But that is my thoughts on the Houston Texans year last year. And just a weird year of limbo and not really a step forward, but at least not a step backwards. So it could have been worse. Maybe that's the tagline. Houston Texans 2021. It could have been worse.